Okay, so in the last video we wrote methods to get the height and width of the string. Oh yeah, I didn't make them public, so they're not showing up here. But we can use those now, these height and width and dimension things, to calculate. What we want to do is calculate this point. So this is the xy where we're placing the string, right? We want to calculate that value. So let's make a private, and let's there's also a point class that has an x and a y value. So we'll use that. We'll return the x and the y. It's a nice way to be able to return both an x and a y at once. From a method. We'll start by getting our string dimension. Oops. So it's this method. Let me just copy it. String dimension string. Okay, that gives us the dimension of the string, and we can say return new point, and point takes two inputs. Just like dimension takes two inputs, one for width and one for height, point takes two inputs, one for x and one for y. So we're going to use, oh yeah, let's take a look. I don't know, because it's been a while since we looked at that video about, you know, was this the, you know, if we wanted to move this to the center. Remember we talked about, you know, we have to go halfway here and subtract half of this rectangle to get to this point, right? So we came up with some formula kind of like this, that the x point for the text is going to be 300 minus 200 divided by 2. And kind of, you can see a similar thing happening with the y, but remember the bottom, or the xy for a for text is this bottom left corner here. So for the y, what we want to do is go down halfway in this, you know, in this bigger yellow box, so the halfway point to there, and then add half, you know, of the height of this box. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So then what we'll do is to calculate that point, so we'll say, okay, canvas.getWidth minus this dimension that we just calculated, the width from there. And this is not a method, it's just a variable name that's public. So generally we don't use public variable names, but this is an exception in dimension. And we divide that by 2. Okay, so that gives us our x point. And now to get our y point, we'll say canvas.getHeight plus. So see, here we subtracted to get the x, and because we add going down in the y direction, right? So d height divided by 2, and then we need to close off the parentheses for the point parameters, and semicolon. Okay, so let's see if that compiles. Oh, we need to add the point object, and that's another Java AWT guy. Dimension, did I spell it wrong? Let's see, I'll copy this. Oh, wait. I meant to say dimension D. So that's how we get our D object here. Okay. So, all right, so now we can calculate the point. So we could say something like point P equals calculate point. Oh, this could be either label or label plus number, right? You know what let's do? Let's make a separate drawstring method. And that way we can pass it either label or label plus number. Just make our life easier, I think. Void drawstring string label. Okay, and so here's where we'll do our. I'm going to set this up. Actually, why don't we move this? We'll do all our. We'll do our. Since we're doing our drawing down here, we'll move the set font down here, and we'll say point P equals calculate point label, and then canvas drawstring label, comma, and now just like with dimension, how it had those public variables width and height, point has public variables x and y. So this is when we calculated the point, this is the x and y we wanted to put it at. We'll just put it there. And then, so then all we need to do is, at this point, we can say drawstring or drawstring. And we can get rid of the x and y's because we're going to add the x and y's on down here. Right? Since we're using our method here, the method we just wrote, all we need to pass is the label. So here label plus number makes a string that has the original label plus the number. So if we call this one, well then label will take on the value of label plus number. If we call this one, then it'll just be that original label there. Okay, so compile. Okay, so but we haven't. So what have we done so far? Oh yeah, so we calculated our x, y. So let's see if that centers it. Close, compile. Ah, it's all centered. Okay, so there's one other thing that we're going to have to worry about, which is set font size to like 48, let's say. It gets too big for the background. So I have to figure out what to do when our background gets big. And there are different choices you can have for this, but just as an exercise, in the next video, I'll show you how you can do it so that when you resize the text, the background will automatically resize to fit.